Alright, how's it going, guys? Given here's a video, I'm bringing you 5 things you can do to help yourself get to a higher round in zombies. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more of this kind of content. So my first tip is the play in the morning. When you're playing at night, you're going to be less focused and less relaxed than if you're playing in the morning. Mainly because when you're playing in the morning, you know, you have a day ahead, you've usually had breakfast and something, so you have energy and you're just focused for zombies. And when you're playing a map like Town, when you do get down, it's not easy to get back up and get your perks back. You know, you have to be focused and relaxed and comfortable with the game if you want to go for a high round, which is, you know, when you're playing in the morning, which I did for this gameplay, it was much easier than if I was playing at night and I was tired and I was exhausted, and, you know, I had a day behind me of work and stuff like that. So playing in the morning is definitely the way to go if you're going for a high round. And so my next tip is knowing what guns are good. Now, when you're playing a map with no wonder weapon especially, you need to know what guns are good for certain rounds and certain bunches of rounds. So this is what I found to be most effective. So from 1 to 5, using the M14 is really effective. And then from 5 to 10, using any gun from the box is really effective. And then from 10 to 20, using the Galil or any other assault rifle like that, like the MTAR and stuff like that, that is very effective and it works quite well. Now from 20 to 25, using the Pack-a-Punch Executioner or using really any Pack-a-Punch box weapon works pretty well in that situation, except, you know, maybe the War Machine. Now from 25 to 35, using the ray gun and the Pack-a-Punch ray gun is really effective. And then from 35 to, you know, beyond, using the Mustang and Sally and using the ray gun Mark II. Now that's what I found to be the most effective for those rounds. But if you are in a situation where you can use a wonder weapon, I recommend using the wonder weapon over anything else. You know, those guns that I just mentioned, they don't last very long. None of them really go up to rounds like 80 and stuff, and it does take a long time to kill any of these zombies with those guns when you're at around like 80. And so my third tip is make sure you're watching Netflix or YouTube when you're going for the high rounds. I'm talking about like 40 to 50 and stuff like that, because when you get to those high rounds, everything starts to slow down. Even at 30, you get pretty bored, and that's just because, you know, zombies are hard to kill, more zombies, everything's just longer. And so a really good thing to keep yourself occupied and keep yourself going for those high rounds is watching your favorite show or YouTube channel. And a really good trick to that is when you're watching your show, don't exactly, you know, peek over to your show and then peek over to playing zombies. If something's happening on your show, like when you're watching Breaking Bad, someone's gonna die, make sure to pause your game and then look at your thing. And you can pause your game on solo, which I recommend to be playing if you're going for high rounds, otherwise everything's even more slower and sucky. And so my fourth tip is before you try tackling a map like Origins or Mob Dead, make sure you know about all the extra content that's available on those maps. And so a good example of this is on Mob Dead, the Hell's Retriever. Now the Hell's Retriever isn't a necessary piece of content that you need to get, but it's very helpful in a lot of cases and is something you probably want. And the reason why this tip is so important is when you're looking at a lot of those harder maps like Origins and Mob Dead, they have a lot of extra content on there. And so in general, even the idea of getting the wonder weapon on Origins is a extra piece of content because you have to build it, and to upgrade it, you have to do a process. So knowing that process and knowing how all that works can make getting to high rounds on those maps so much easier compared to if you didn't know how to do that. And a good way to find out how to do all that kind of stuff, if you guys don't know how to do already, is there's plenty of guides on YouTube how to, you know, build the staves and how to get the thunder gloves and how to get the, you know, free blunder guide and the Hell's Retriever. And so there's plenty of guides on YouTube how to do all that kind of stuff. And once you've done it, you're a better zombies player. You know, you just are. Those maps are made so much easier by the extra content that, you know, getting to a high round on Origins is going to be made easier if you know how to do all that kind of stuff. So it's definitely a really important tip for you guys to know. And so the last and fifth thing that I want to leave you guys off with as a tip to get a higher rounds on zombies, get better at zombies, is compare yourself to others. And I don't think a lot of other people say this, but I think one of the main things that motivated me to get to higher rounds was when I compared my rounds to other players and all my friends. You know, my friends had really high rounds. A lot of them had 30s and stuff when I was first starting, so it was just motivation for me to be able to beat them in their score and stuff like that. It was just like a giant motivation for me, and I think that's a big reason why I got into zombies, was because I had friends who were really good at zombies and who got to high rounds. And with that, I was just really motivated to get better at zombies and to try and beat their scores, because it was just something that I could aim at and something that I could really challenge myself with. And so and a good example of this, it was a few days ago, I wanted to get to a high round on Mob Dead, and it wasn't because I really liked the Mob Dead map, but it was because one of my friends had a higher round than me. It was around 40, and I was like, you know what, I can do this. Like, this is a challenge for me. This is something that I can really try and do. And I wasn't exactly the best player at Mob Dead. You know, I never really took my time out of my day to get really good at the map. I think my highest round before that was 32. And so I played the map and I got to round 40. It was just simple as that. You know, it was one of the things where I could compare myself to another player. And that was the last tip for this video. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. I know that last tip, that was weird. This whole video, it was odd tips, I would say. You know, some of them were necessary, some of them were a little bit odd that could help you out in small ways. But I think overall, all these could really help you get to higher rounds. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. See you guys later. GivenGaming out, and have a nice day.